right. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Shannon Bradley. I've had the pleasure of hosting a couple of these. So if you're a return person to our webinars, thank you so much for joining. I am really pleased to be presenting a place that's near and dear to my heart, the islands of Tahiti and beyond the Overwater Bungalows. So tonight I am joined by Vanessa, who we call Ness. You can call her Ness. She is one of our South Pacific experts and was lucky enough to be in Tahiti in February this year, right before COVID happened. So she literally, I think she got one of the last flights back into the United States. And then our good friend Tekura Kelley is joining us, and she is representing the Brando, but she is also part Tahitian. Her mom and several of her siblings still live in Tahiti. And as if you caught some of her conversation, she obviously is very well versed on the local culture. Her dad was one of the people that actually invented Overwater Bungalows in Tahiti. So we're so pleased to have her here because she not only is going to talk about her beautiful property, the Brando that she is representing, but also just some interesting culture and some insider tips about how Tahiti is more than just the beautiful water, the beaches, and the Overwater Bungalows. So Doug, let's go to the next slide. I think most of you all know about Down Under Endeavours, but obviously this is just a tidbit of what we do. We really try and focus on handcrafting trips for our clients and really getting our clients to get an idea of culture and what it's like to be a local, rather than just ticking all of the boxes of the highlights of a place. So that's why we're so pleased to have people like Tekura on our calls to really talk a little bit more about the local flavor. So let's go over our agenda really quickly. We're going to run through this agenda really quickly. Vanessa is going to do the French Polynesia overview, and then Tekura is going to talk about the Brando. If you could all keep your mics muted through that portion of the presentation, that would be great. If you have any questions during that time, please pop them into the chat box, and then I will make sure that Ness or Tekura actually answers those questions during our Q&A session. But then once we get to that session, we would love to have you go ahead and open up your mic if you have a question that you would like to ask Vanessa or Tekura directly. That would be great. So without further ado, also just to let you know, we are recording this webinar, so we will make sure and send a copy through to you if you would like to watch it again. But I'm going to turn it over to Ness so she can talk about French Polynesia.
All right, thanks, Sheza. So yeah, let's jump right on in. As Shannon said, I was actually lucky enough to be in French Polynesia at the beginning of the year. So I spent about 2 weeks traveling around and yeah, got the last flight back to America before COVID really shut everything down. And it is a place that definitely restole my heart. It is certainly a beautiful part of the world. While most people know it as Tahiti, Tahiti is actually the major gateway to French Polynesia. So that's where the international airport is going to be. And French Polynesia is divided into 5 different groups. So today we're going to be focusing on the Society Islands. And these include Moorea, Taha, Raiatea, Bora Bora, and one you may not heard too much of is Tetiaroa. So, and that's going to be where the stunning Brando is located, and that's what Tekura is going to go through. So where is French Polynesia? So it's located south of Hawaii and northeast of New Zealand. So there are direct flights from LA and San Francisco, and it takes about 8 hours to get there. The islands of Tahiti are located on the same dateline as America, and they're actually in the same time zone as Hawaii. So it is a year-round destination. It definitely offers more sun and less rain than most other island destinations. The best time to travel is going to be March through to October, because November through to February sees a little bit more humidity and a little bit more rainfall, but it is a year-round destination. So right now, one of the most frequently asked questions we're getting is, can we travel to Tahiti and what are the COVID requirements? So since the 15th of July, quarantine measures have been lifted and French Polynesia's borders reopened to international tourism to most countries. You are required to have some COVID requirements in order to enter. So prior to departing and prior to boarding, you do need a negative PCR COVID test. And this needs to be taken within 3 days prior to your international departure. There's also a sanitary form that needs to be completed online. Once this is completed online, they'll send you an email receipt. And then when you go in to check in for your flight, you basically bring your negative COVID test as well as your receipt. And those documents are what you're going to submit to the gate agent, and then they'll let you on the plane. You'll also need these documents once you arrive in Tahiti, so just make sure you keep them handy with your passport. So what requirements are necessary once you arrive into Tahiti? The COVID requirements are going to be pretty similar to what we have here in the USA. So wearing a mask is mandatory in enclosed public places. It's also mandatory in outdoor establishments that have large numbers of people. So, shops, transportation, airports, ferry terminals, things of that nature. If your itinerary does change when you're on the ground, then you will need to update it in the itinerary portion of your online file. And you can do that straight on their website. As well, the other addition, I guess, that you'll need to do is once you arrive in Tahiti, what they're going to give you is a self test for COVID. So basically, when you arrive, each traveler gets one, and it basically consists of a nasal and an oral swab. And these are to be completed on your 4th day in Tahiti. So basically what you do is you complete those, you put it back into the envelope, and then you hand it to the hotel staff, and then the hotel staff send it in for you. So that just needs to be completed on the 4th day. And it will have instructions in the kit as to how to do it and, where to send it and who to give it to and everything like that. So it's pretty self-explanatory. So once you're in French Polynesia, where do you go? And for this, I'm going to pass it on to Tekura.
Hi, everybody. As we say in the islands, Yaurana, Maiva, which is hello and welcome. So we at the Brando are a private island resort. This is actually where Tahitian royalty used to vacation way back when, and also the island that Marlon Brando fell in love with when he was shooting Mutiny and the Bounty. Now, before I start telling you about the resort, I just wanted to quickly go through the health and safety measures that are being put in place. And so I'm not going to really talk about these, but I just wanted you to know that these are, this is what's being put in place. One thing that I do want you guys to know is that culturally, we're a very clean people. So, and I realize that sounds kind of funny, but we are obsessed with taking showers, for example. So when I was a kid, if I wasn't feeling well, my mom would just be like, you should go take a shower. You'll feel better afterwards. If you're cold, they say take a shower. If you're hot, take a shower. If you are sick, you should take a shower. It's very much ingrained in us because it's so hot. And so my mom, for example, takes 3 to 4 showers a day. Another thing is that the traditional Tahitian meal is actually eaten with the hands. And so because of that, and this is not really like what's found in restaurants. So like when you go into the islands, you're not going to be at a restaurant with people eating with their hands. It's not like that. It's really what people eat at home. They eat with their hands. And so because of that, it's also very much ingrained in us to constantly be washing our hands because we're constantly eating. So those are some just basic things about the culture. And if you see me doing this, it's because I'm changing the slides. I'm pushing a button. So yeah, but I think that I'm all done with this piece here. We are, as Ness said, we're focusing on the Society Islands. Most of the islands in French Polynesia as a whole, so there's 5 archipelagos, but most of the islands in French Polynesia are high islands, like Tahiti, Moorea, and Bora Bora. Those all have big, beautiful mountains. Now, Te Tiaroa, where we are, and that's where on this map where the arrow is pointing, Te Tiaroa is an atoll. So it's flat and it looks like this. Isn't that something? So to me, this is what makes French Polynesia so special, is that we have those beautiful big mountains with a lot to do in the interior. So that's, hiking, biking, and ATV tours, all kinds of things that you could do on the interior of the islands. And we have the low-lying atolls like Te Tiaroa, where everything revolves around that gorgeous water. Now, here's our terminal at the airport because you can only get to us by plane. It's a quick 20-minute flight from the main island of Tahiti. Now, here's an aerial shot of the resort. So that concentration of buildings that you see that are closest to you, that's the heart of the resort. So concierge, front desk, and all the restaurants. All of our villas are located all along the beach, and that's on both sides. So at the top right of this image, you can actually see 2 villas side by side. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of distance in between. We like to say that Marlon Brando taught us about social distancing long before any of this ever happened. So we have a total of 35 villas, and again, all along the beach. So basically the way the resort is laid out is we have the heart of the resort here and then the villas on both sides. Song and dance when you touch down. Each guest gets their own bicycle. Now here's the 1-bedroom villa from the beach. Every villa gets its own beach, plunge pool, deck, and outdoor eating space. This is the main entrance. You walk out these glass doors and what you have is your deck, your plunge pool, your own beach, and this little gem here. Bedroom, bathroom, outdoor bathtub, and every villa has a beach that looks just like this one. As far as dining, we've got the Beachcomber Cafe, which is our casual dining, open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner right on the beach. As you can see, feet in the sand. And then we also have a part that's still like outdoors kind of, or it's open air, but it actually has tile. So if you don't like to have your feet in the sand, that's okay. We have a solution. And then we have Nami. So Nami is our teppanyaki restaurant. This restaurant, Nami usually is able to accommodate 8 people. And with COVID, we've reduced capacity to 6. So this is the fine dining restaurant, which is Les Mutinées. And one of the things that we've had to do with COVID is just to make things work is we've reduced staff a tiny bit. So by 20%, we've reduced staff. And because of that, we have to actually, in order to make everybody happy and to continue giving the excellent service that we're known to give, we have had to alternate the nights that Les Mutinées and Nami are open. So instead of closing one restaurant or another, one night Nami is open, the next night Les Mutinées is open. So it's very important to make reservations, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We're hoping that things go back to normal and that we can do away with these little changes, but for now, this is where we are. The Manu Bar is the bar that's open in the evening, kind of perched up into the trees. And then we have Bob's Bar, which is the bar that's open during the day. And naturally, given that the villas are so fabulous, room service is very, very popular. In fact, we sometimes see people never leave their villa. This here's the main pool. This is one of our spa treatment rooms intended to look like a bird's nest. We have our version of a kids club, which is called the Lagoon School. It's all based on educating the little ones on the environment, the do's and don'ts of the ocean. Why is it important to not touch the coral? What happens to the coral when you touch it? We don't get a ton of kids But when we do, we are prepared for them. Kayaks, paddleboards, canoes, and of course, everybody gets their own bicycle. This is probably my most favorite image of Tetiaroa. Just really makes me want to jump into that gorgeous water. These are the boats that are used for our excursions. So these are actually the only motorized units allowed to enter the lagoon. And then of course we have a tennis court. We also do exercise classes. So Pilates, yoga, and then we do a stretch class as well. Given that we're in the middle of nowhere, biodiversity is going to be absolutely top notch. And if you come to us during turtle nesting season, assuming you sign up for this, we can actually wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning so that you can see the turtles nest. Lots of other fun little critters as well. And we make our own honey. It's honestly the best honey you will ever have in your entire life. I promise you. Another thing that's really important that I always forget to mention is that we have gotten a ton of awards for being one of the most eco-friendly resorts on the property. I mean, in the world, one of the most eco-friendly resorts in the world. So we are run on coconut oil and solar power. Even our air conditioning system is completely eco-friendly, and we recycle everything. Anyway. So this is the newest accommodation available at the Brando. This is a residence. It's a 3-bedroom residence with an additional 4th bedroom intended to be for a staff member, like a nanny or personal assistant, could even be a chef, but this is really truly like a home. I actually did a dinner here last time I was on property. The chef came and prepared a meal. It was incredible. So there's a ton of space. This is going to be the most private accommodation that we have. And with that, it's also the most removed. So it's about a 9-minute walk, maybe 10, from the heart of the resort. So from all the restaurants and stuff. And as you can see, these rooms are amazing. And wait till you see the bathroom. Hopefully we have some ladies that are watching that can appreciate these gorgeous bathrooms. And I mean, gentlemen should have an appreciation for these gorgeous bathrooms also. This here is that additional 4th bedroom that I was telling you about that's intended to be for a staff member. So in the past, we've had nannies sleeping with kids. And now the nanny can actually have her own space and so own room, own bathroom. As you can see, it's not quite as luxurious as the other bedrooms that I was showing you, but it's still very, very nice. Now here's the pool area, which of course is lovely. And this is a picture of at nighttime, and you've got that gorgeous barbecue area. Shannon, if you can't find me someday, if I go missing, I'm probably sitting right here in this barbecue area having some food, just so you know, letting you know ahead of time.
Fantastic. You and your mom and your sister, perhaps.
Yeah. Or maybe just me.
Okay.
But yeah, and the next slide is an aerial shot of the residence. So if you look at this image carefully, you can actually see that tip on the end that kind of, if you're looking straight ahead at the photo and you like kind of curve this way, which would be left, forgive me, I'm dyslexic, that is actually where the heart of the resort is. So once you're cutting across, it's about a 9 to 10 minute walk, depending on how quickly you walk. And then for bicycles, like I said, everybody gets their own bicycle. I would say it's probably 2 minutes on a bicycle. And then we can always come and pick you up in a golf cart if need be. And yes, I guess questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Tekura. I actually had the pleasure of traveling with Tekura to Tahiti. Gosh, I can't remember. It was 3 or 4 years ago.
It was
And
about 3 years ago. Yeah.
yeah,
Actually,
we
no,
had,
probably, I think it was 4. You're right.
yeah, I think it was 2016. We had such a good time.
You're right.
I have some questions that other people have asked that I have prepared, but I would like to open it up to see if anybody, I don't have anything in the chat box so far, but does anybody have specific questions that they would like to ask Nusk or Tekura about traveling to Tahiti? Now, keep in mind, while Tekura is representative of the Brando, she also knows a lot about traveling within Tahiti. So the other islands besides Titiaroa, Bora Bora, and Moorea, Huahine, any of those, additionally Ness as well. So I guess my question would be, does anybody want to open up their mic and ask questions? Otherwise, I've got a few just to kind of help you guys with some cultural ideas.
Great.
Anyone? Nobody, everybody's just looking at the pictures and dreaming of traveling to Tahiti. I actually have clients leaving on Friday for Tahiti, so good for them. Tekura, what are the main questions that people are asking your reservation staff at the Brando?
Okay. So that's an easy one and a very, very good question. I think that the most commonly asked question is what is included in the all-inclusive. So French Polynesia has never been a place where all-inclusive made sense, and that was because we're such a small destination. Most of the resorts are very, very small. So we are one of the few all-inclusive resorts. We do have a B&B rate that's available that only includes the villa and breakfast. But I steer people towards the all-inclusive because the value is just incredible. If you've never been to French Polynesia, I can tell you that it's very, very expensive, mostly because everything is imported. So you can easily pay $22 for a glass of wine, for example, at the Intercontinental Tahiti. Yes, that's what I did. But you know, rosé have to have, of course. The most common question is what is included in your all-inclusive? And so the answer to that is meals, beverages including wines and spirits, one activity per person per day, and one spa service per villa per day. So let's say you're going with your special someone and you want to do a couples massage. All you have to do is you skip one day and do it together the next. Now, I forgot to mention actually that the room categories. So we have 1-bedroom villas, 2-bedroom villas, 1 3-bedroom villa, and then the residence. So it's 4 room categories, but all of the rooms are the same. The only difference is going to be the size and like the size of the beach, the size of the deck, how many chairs you have outside. Those are the only differences. But like I said, meals, beverages including wines and spirits, activities for everybody, and a spa treatment per villa per day. The 2-bedroom villa gets 2 spa services per day. 3-bedroom villa gets 3 spa services per day. Imagine that.
I might just tell the other people staying in the villa that they're not getting any spa treatments and take all 3 by myself per day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I might join you. Yeah.
Ness, I'm going to direct this one at you. Karen has a question. She says, first time going to Tahiti, how many islands is a good number to visit?
I mean, it really depends on your personal travel style. So you will fly into the island of Tahiti itself. And then I definitely recommend, branching out and visiting another island. It depends on how long you have and how much you like to move around. Typically, if I have clients that have about 2 weeks, then they'll probably visit 3 different islands. And then again, it depends on what you want to do as to what islands I would recommend. If you want to be more active, I'd probably suggest somewhere like Moorea versus if you wanted to be more, beach, chilling on the beach and just kind of snorkeling and things like that. I would suggest more beach style of islands. So yeah, around 3 islands, but it really depends on your travel style.
Awesome. I've got some great questions coming in here, guys. Tekura, for Jerry loves seeing the turtles and she wants to know when turtle nesting season is at the Brando.
Sure. Well, Jerry, you're going to want to make note of these this other set of dates as well. All right. So for turtle nesting is November through March.
So during the rainy season.
Yes.
The humid season, I'm sorry.
Humid season, yeah. But yeah, November through March.
Okay. What are the other dates you see?
Yes, the other dates. It is whale watching season.
Yes.
So it's actually started early the last 2 years. So whale season usually starts in September, but this year and last year, it started in July. So, and then goes until about early October.
And Tekura, what kind of whales are those that they're seeing?
They're humpbacks.
Oh, that's awesome. So they're breaching.
And I actually have never, I mean, I used to live in Tahiti, so this is very annoying, but I've never actually swam with the whales. As an adult, every time that I go back, it's usually in December.
Right.
It's very annoying, but I have a lot of friends who've done it and they say that it's absolutely incredible. You can actually be in the water with the whales. They're within arm's length. I mean, it's
amazing.
A dream.
Yeah, for sure. Also directed at you, Tekura, is there snorkeling directly from the villas, the beach? What kind of snorkeling can people do from the beach?
Yeah, so very good question. And yes, it's possible, but you just have to be on the right side. So that's something that, and you guys are actually very fortunate to have Down Under Endeavours assisting you, because I love them so much that I will bend over backwards to help them in any way that I can, and always been this way, even before in my old job when I was working for Tahiti Tourism. But okay, so for example, let's say you were to let Down Under Endeavours know that you want to snorkel right off of your villa, then I would request to put you on the Turtle Beach side. So this is the way the resort is, kind of like I talked about before. Got the heart of the resort here in the center. This side here is Turtle Beach. So this is where we have more coral, and it's also where the sun sets. This side here is Mermaid Bay. Very little coral. And actually on this picture, on the top right, that's Mermaid Bay. So as you could see, very little coral. So it's really ideal for people with families, or people who want to just lay in the beach and not be bothered by coral. But if you are on the Turtle Beach side, you can absolutely just walk out of your villa, get in the water, and do some snorkeling. The water is pretty shallow, so you have to be very careful. And we've got reef shoes that our staff can give you that are sanitized and really comfortable, and they're the high-end ones, so they're very really, really nice and good quality stuff. But yes.
Awesome. Nessa, I'm going to direct this one at you. What is the average length of stay in the islands of Tahiti?
I would say for us, typically it's about 10 days to 2 weeks is generally what clients are looking for, and the trips that we're booking.
Unless they're doing an add-on, if they were, if they can do, when they can travel to Australia and New Zealand, adding on to that, then it might be 4 or 5 days, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't recommend any less than 4 nights.
Right, for sure, just with the travel. Yeah. Awesome, thank you. Juan Carlos also asked, and I'm actually going to answer this one. So for snorkeling, diving, when is the best time, and which islands do you recommend for most variety? Juan Carlos, if you are a pretty keen diver, you might want to consider, and we haven't talked about these islands on this particular webinar, but you do have the Tuamotus, which are another set of islands in the islands of Tahiti, and they are also atoll islands like where the Brando sits in Titiaroa. But the owner of our company, Corinne, has actually been diving and has told me that the diving in those particular islands are the best that she has seen as far as sharks and just some really cool things to see. The Tuamotus have limited a limited number of accommodations. There's only a few. So you might want to combine that then with a stay in the Society Islands with Moorea or Bora Bora. I find snorkeling and diving in Moorea is a bit better just because of the coral shelf and the activity. In Bora, you kind of you have to get on a boat and go to some places. Like you can snorkel straight off the beach, but it's not as fantastic as going to some of the coral gardens. Pretty much any time of the year, the islands of Tahiti are a year-round destination. You do have November to February or March where you're going to have a little bit of the humid season, but you're always going to have fantastic coral and fish. So hopefully that is. And then we also got another question from Nellie. I'm going to leave this to either of you. What is the best island for shallow water snorkeling?
I think that's Tetiaroa.
Okay.
Because you can snorkel right off your villa.
Right. Yeah. And Morea and some of the places that sit right on that coral shelf, you can do some snorkeling, right? But that's deeper water.
It is deeper water, yeah.
For sure. And even like Tekura, when we went to and did we swam to the coral garden outside of the Sofitel on Bora, that's still pretty deep water.
It is pretty deep water. Another place I just thought of though that is still good and sort of shallow, we're definitely the most shallow, but is Luta'a. So the island of Ta'a actually has a resort called Luta'a, which is fantastic, and I know that Down Under Endeavours knows it well, and they sell it and also have a very, very good contact there. But they have a really beautiful coral garden. It's shallow-ish. Like I think I could probably, I'm 5'8", and I could probably stand, but it's a lot of coral. So you have to be really, really careful. But it is considered to be shallow, I'd say.
And the nice thing about the islands of Tahiti, though, is that you're not in a position where you're going to be stuck in the tide going out and you're going to be stuck on a coral shelf. I mean, that is the beauty of it, is that the water stays pretty steady throughout, right? You don't have to worry about that.
And the reason for that is that we have the reef actually that surrounds our islands and protects the inner lagoon.
Which is another reason why very rarely do the islands of Tahiti get stuck in a cyclone, which does happen in the South Pacific. But the islands of Tahiti very rarely. Is that a true statement? I was going to say, I can't remember a time that we've seen a cyclone getting close to Tahiti.
We've had bad weather, but it's not, where homes are being damaged.
Right. Ness, I've got a question I'm going to shoot at you. If you combined a 5-star property in Bora, let's say if you were doing the St. Regis or the Four Seasons, and then you were combining that with the Brando, which one would you do first, and which one would you save for last?
I would probably do Bora Bora first, and then the Brando second. You could do it. Yeah, you could do it either way, but yeah, I would do Bora first and then end at the Brando. Just because I feel like the Brando is going to give you that more relaxation, more pampering. You're going to be more secluded, and it's going to be the highlight of the trip.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is in Bora Bora, while it's absolutely stunning and you get to see Otemanu or whatever, you are, even at the St. Regis or Four Seasons, you are seeing other overwater bungalows. You're not seeing them that close, but you can certainly see them. Whereas at the Brando, it's just the people that are staying at the Brando. So, you look out to the horizon and you're seeing nothing but water and, the sky. So awesome. Okay, details of other islands for diving. Ness, do you want to talk about diving in like Bora or Raiatea has some amazing diving as well in the Society Islands?
Yeah, I haven't done Raiatea, but I have done Moorea and Bora Bora, and both of those were great, very clear water. I would say I've done diving in, if we're comparing islands, I've done diving in Fiji and Australia and things like that as well. And I would say that in Moorea, I probably got some of the best view of fish, coral, bright. It was beautiful. The clarity was great. So yeah, I would say that in terms of comparing it with other South Pacific destinations, my diving in Moorea was second to none.
That's awesome. Yes, and I haven't actually been able to dive in Tahiti because when I went with Tekura, she had us so busy. I was like, when am I going to be able to dive? She's like, sweetie, you don't have time.
I'm sorry.
All right. Also, just another question, and this is a really good question that we've received about boating and sailboats and things like that in the islands. We have contact with a really awesome company that actually launches from Raiatea that does some, they're called private charters, but they're crazy affordable. It's you and your significant other or you and your family, and you can do a 3 or 4 day excursion on a catamaran that will take you around to different islands. Certainly if you just wanted to do like a sunset cruise in Bora or a Moorea or something like that, there certainly are small excursions and small charters that you can do. But if you wanted to do something whereby you were on a smaller boat for a couple of days, that certainly is an option. We also are really good partners with Paul Gauguin, which does do cruising in the islands. Keep in mind, this is very small boat cruising, like 200 people tops, all inclusive, a really good way to see the islands as well. And then you could certainly, end your trip with a few days at the Brando, which would be a really nice way to do it as well. So one of the questions to Cora also that just came up was, how does the Brando compare to some of the other 5-star properties as far as amenities go? I think you touched on it a little bit when you were talking about the all-inclusive, but spa services, luxury amenities, those types of things. I think the Brando would be pretty much on par with like the Intercon and St. Regis and Four Seasons as far as the services that they offer, that may not necessarily be all inclusive though, right? Do you want to speak to that just a tad?
So yeah, I think that the fact that we have an all-inclusive is probably going to be the biggest difference to say the Four Seasons St. Regis or Intercontinental Thalasso in Bora Bora. Service-wise, I think, well, our normal number of staff has always been, since we opened, has always been 250. So now, like I told you guys before, we reduced staff by 20. And so it's just a little over 200, but still we have 200 plus staff taking care of only 36 accommodations. So the service that you're going to get at the Brando is going to be above and beyond. Because we have so much, like so many more people. But I can't really think of anything else. So like, Shannon, what were you thinking?
Oh, it was just a question that came up, I think, that just was, but I mean, from a service perspective, I think, the spa treatments, I mean, obviously the things that are provided in room. I mean, let me ask this: at the Brando, is there a mini bar? Is there a refresh on a mini bar?
Yes, absolutely, every day. And what you have in that mini bar are proper bottles of wine.
Not just the mini bottles.
No, we don't do that.
Love
And then if you, for example, you tell us that, oh, you don't drink wine and you're purely a vodka drinker, well, then you can have a bottle of vodka delivered to your room and whatever mixers you want. Yes, that is certainly something that's different because it's, even the mini bar is included in the all-inclusive, and it's a very, very complete mini bar.
Yeah, and we just got the question. Yes, there are no overwater bungalows at the Brando. They are all beach bungalows with your own private beach that goes out to the beach.
Correct.
Or goes out to the water, sorry.
And that was Marlon Brando's vision. That's
right.
What he wanted to do.
All right. I do have one other question about the Marquesas, which I love, but let me hold on that question for just a moment because I love that you guys are asking about all the other islands in French Polynesia. But I do want to give Tekura just a chance to talk a little bit. One of her passions about the islands of Tahiti is the food, and it's something that's not really talked about a lot because most people go to the resorts and they don't get an opportunity to necessarily enjoy what is considered to be local dishes and local food. And so, Takura, I'm going to toss this question out to you. What are some of the popular local dishes, or what are some of your favorite local dishes? And to to build on that, if people want to come to the islands of Tahiti, can they go to a local restaurant and enjoy some of those local dishes?
Absolutely. So our signature dish in Tahiti is the poisson cru, which in French means raw fish. It's tuna, generally red tuna, and it's diced in, like, not diced, actually, that's not accurate, cubed. And they're pieces about yay big, marinated in lime juice, salt, and then you add your vegetables. So usually it's tomato, cucumbers, carrots, maybe bell peppers. And you add that in, and then coconut milk on top. And you need a lot of coconut milk, and it's fresh coconut milk, not the canned stuff. We don't do that in Tahiti. And we usually eat that with rice. That is our signature dish. It's super healthy. I'm gluten intolerant, so that is a gluten-free dish completely. And so that's probably the best. I mean, it's just the best. We have a lot of really great seafood. So another thing we're famous for is like grilled mahi mahi with a vanilla sauce, which is also eaten with rice. I love the traditional Tahitian feast that's actually cooked in the ground, and taro. I love, and this is actually a little bit harder to find, but when you have, so for example, at the Intercontinental Tahiti, they usually do a show, a Polynesian show twice a week, and they'll do a buffet where they'll have actually some of our local things. So one of my favorites is taro, which is usually eaten with fermented coconut milk. And then another one of my favorites is the breadfruit, which people eat with corned beef, which I realize sounds kind of weird, but it's really delicious. But yeah, a lot of fish, a lot of fruit. We eat really healthy, actually.
Is breadfruit what you normally have your mom make you when you go home?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, that's what I thought.
I have my mom make me a lot of things. But breadfruit and taro is what I have to have every single day. I mean, and I can eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Awesome. Love it. I'm gonna shoot one more question at you. And we talked about this a little bit, but what if you wanted somebody, I mean, obviously people that go to the resorts are gonna get a Tahitian show, and it's going to be the staff, and whether they're at the Brando or they're at another property within the Society Islands, it's not necessarily going to be they're just doing a show for you to see a show. But if people want to do something that is a little bit more off the beaten path, something that gets them a little bit more into the cultural experience of Tahiti, is there something specific you would recommend?
I think, and I thought about this a lot. I think the biggest thing is to being open to like getting to know people. I think that really is the best way to like get a feel for our culture, and doing as many excursions as possible. So for example, when Shannon and I were in Tahiti, we did an excursion into the valley of Papin'o, which has these gorgeous mountains, and people call it like Jurassic Park. And they're always so surprised at how green and these beautiful valleys and whatnot. Anyway, our tour guide on our way back from this gorgeous valley, he was so enamored with the group, and he enjoyed his time with us so much that he wanted to like really show off and like impress us. So on the way back, towards the hotel. He pulls over this coconut tree, this huge coconut tree, and he wanted to show us that he could climb up with his own hands and feet and nothing else. And he just goes up, and we all took video and pictures. It was unreal. But I think that engaging with your tour guides, with the people who are selling you things, with your, the people that maybe the housekeeping person or somebody at the restaurant, it's really just being open to like talking to people. And another very important thing actually is that we're often misunderstood for being rude. And people are like, oh, well, it's a French territory, so makes sense. But it's not actually that Tahitians are rude. It's really just that they're very shy. So for us, making eye contact is huge. When you make eye contact with somebody when you're in Tahiti and you ask them a question, you ask them nicely, like you say hello. My mom always like will touch somebody's elbow, which is not a good idea right now, of course, but she'll like touch it. Oh, excuse me. Like, but all these little things of like really being open and trying to make a connection, to me, is the best way to get a feel for the culture. So 1, be open. 2, do excursions, as many as you can, and engage in conversations with people. Odds are they'll invite you to their house for dinner. I mean, and that's actually happened before. Like I've had people come back
from red fruit.
Yeah. I've had people go to Tahiti and tell me that they were just at a public beach and they started talking to the people sitting next to them. And next thing you know, they were invited to go to their house because that night they were having a barbecue. I mean, we are a very friendly people, but we're shy. And so being open is trying to make a connection, making that effort of like wanting to get to know people and wanting to get to know like the culture. To us as Tahitians, it's the biggest gift we could ever have, because we care more about making connections and showing you a good time and showing you how beautiful our culture is than we do anything else. And that includes money. So if you're rude to somebody in Tahiti, they will be rude back. And they don't care about their tip. They don't care if you buy their products. It doesn't matter to them. So anyway.
And the nice thing that we, from Down Under's Endeavours perspective is we do, like, all of the local companies that we use for touring are all locally owned, guided by locals. So you do definitely, if you book excursions or if your luxury travel consultant recommends one of those, then you certainly are going to have an opportunity to interact. So I'm gonna, in the interest of time, I've got like a couple of final questions on the Brando, but I'm going to toss this one over to Ness because we have somebody actually asking about how you would perhaps combine the Tuamotus with the Marquesas, which obviously is not going to be the easiest thing to do, but I don't know if you want to talk about how people get to the Marquesas and what that particular experience is like and how maybe that should be 2 separate trips. Oh, you're muted. You're muted, love. There you go.
Shaza, do you want to take it? Have you been to the Tuamotus or the Marquesas?
I have not, but the
I can
go
take
ahead, Tekura.
There you go.
Have you been to the Marquesas, Tekura?
Yes.
Oh, then you go ahead, dear.
Yeah, I have. Although, and I don't know why in my head you were with me.
Oh no, I wish I was, but no, I was not.
Okay, so in a perfect world, I'd love for everybody to do like a month in French Polynesia because there's so much to do and see. And I love that you guys are interested in the Marquesas and the Tuamotus. So the Marquesas is they're all high islands.
Very high islands.
Yes, and they don't have that reef around it. So it is different. It's going to be a completely different experience. Even island wise, it's different. So like, it's like going back in time 100 years. They say that comparing Tahiti to Hawaii, that going to Tahiti is like going back 50 years. Well, going to the Marquesas is like going back 100 years. I mean, these people are still hunting boar and loading them up in the back of their pickup trucks. it's very back in time. I don't know how else to describe it.
I mean, it's just very rustic. I mean, it's just,
Very.
and there are no 5-star properties. I mean, it's,
And the place where I stayed, I mean, it was the nicest place available, and it's very simple. And I mean, there was like, bugs in my room and stuff, and that's just how it is. But experiencing the Marquesas, what I would recommend is the Aranui, which is a passenger freighter, and they do a 14-day cruise starting from Tahiti, and I believe they still make a stop in the Tuamotus and Bora Bora. So that could be a nice option. But this cruise is definitely going to be the best way to experience the Marquesas, and also the best way to, just like their accommodations. There's everything from bunk bed accommodations to presidential suites with 3 balconies. So there's a lot. And then all of the staff is Tahitian, or Polynesian, I should say, because there's a lot of Marquesans on there. There's a lot of people from the Tuamotus even, or people from the Society Islands. So that's going to be the best way to see the Marquesas, and it does make a stop in the Tuamotus. If you want to combine both and do more time in the Tuamotus, let's say do 4 days in the Marquesas and maybe 4 days in the Tuamotus, it's totally doable, but a little bit more challenging logistically. And that'll depend on flight schedules. But the Tuamotus, the islands that I would recommend would be either Tikehau or Rangiroa.
But people can go, if people want to go over to Whakarava, which is supposed to be amazing for diving, that people can, there's no.
It is amazing, but they don't, all that they
accommodation.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'd
that's
have
the
to.
problem with Whakarava. And if you're a simple person that doesn't need luxury accommodations, then, that's doable. Either that, or maybe you start in Whakarava and, work your way up to luxury. But yes, I'm told that the diving in Whakarava is indeed the best, out of all of our islands. So, second best being Rangiroa and Tikehau.
Juan Carlos, I know you've got several questions here, so it might be best if perhaps one of our travel consultants follows up with you with some of your questions. But I know you had asked about the best time, May to October. Yeah, generally speaking, but you could even probably do March to October. I don't, your humid season starts to taper off in around February, so I think that's certainly. Certainly good. So I'm going to leave these last 2 questions to Cora. There's just 2 quick questions on the Brando. With the way that the Brando, with the way the island is set up on Titiaroa, can people walk around, or is there a running area where people could run, around on the beach or something?
Yeah, absolutely. Not really. I wouldn't recommend running on the beach, but we do have a little path that goes throughout the resort. And that would be a lovely run.
Okay, perfect. And then this was a question that came up, but I actually was curious as well. The people that work at the Brando, where's their village?
It's on the atoll. So
okay,
it's kind of like in the back of the atoll, and there's staff housing. It really is actually like a little village. Okay. And they even have a little food truck over there.
Do their families live there as well then, or do they go off property to go and stay with their families then every couple of weeks?
They go off property to work, and usually the way it works is a staff member will be on for 3 weeks.
Yep.
And then each week they get 1 day off.
Yep.
And then they get a full week off where they're able to go back to Moorea or Bora Bora or wherever to be with their families, and then they come back.
Great. All right. Well, that was so interesting. Now, I know that there may be some of you that have some other questions. So certainly one of our luxury travel consultants will reach out to each one of you, and you can start up that dialogue a little bit further. But we like to kind of keep everything at an hour because we know everybody has constraints on their time. So we want to thank you so much for being here. And Tekura and Nas, thank you so much for all of your knowledge. It was wonderful and very interesting. So we are keeping up with our Travel Tuesdays every 3 weeks. Our next one is going to be October 27th. And we are going to be talking about a country in Africa that not a lot of people talk about as far as safari, Zambia. Ness and I have both been to Zambia. I think most of our staff has been to Zambia. And we're so fortunate that we're going to have Johan and Brooke joining us, who just are traveling in Zambia now, or they're just getting back, something like that. So they're going to talk to you a little bit about what it's like to travel over there and some of the wonderful things about Zambia. So watch for that blast email coming out for the next invite. And thank you so much to everybody. And we will be following up with you with a link to the webinar and to answer any further questions. You guys were so great. Thank you for such great questions. Good night, everybody.
Guys, good night.
Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Doug.